Hey YouTube, Amanda here on behalf of Core, and today's ruling video is all going to be about clarifications on discrepancies in rulings. Now recently at YCS New Jersey, there's been a huge fiasco regarding Evelswarm, Castor, Constellar, Pollux. If you guys don't know about these cards, I made a video previously, in my last video, explaining how they worked. I explained that cards like Evelswarm, Castor, and Pollux place a condition on the field on their successful summon immediately. That's a continuous condition that grants the player an additional normal summon. This is how it's played out in the OCG. And so, cards like Effect Veiler, Fiendish Chain, Breakthrough Skill, if those are chained to that monster, the effect's not attached to the monster, so those don't negate it. However, at YCS New Jersey, the head judge ruled otherwise, and ruled that they're actually continuous effects, something like Jinzo, for example, so they are indeed attached to the card. It all dates back to a ruling that TCG Konami made about a Nordic card, and that's called the Verg of the Nordic Alfar. And the reason this hasn't come up in all the years this card has been in existence, well, because it was Nordics. But now that we're seeing cards with similar effects, and they're actually really wanting competitive play, like Evelswarms, this ruling has finally been dug up, and this issue has arisen. Quick update, there's been a ruling change again since this video has been recorded. Since YCS New Jersey, Konami of the US has been sticking to their guns until just now this afternoon on May 15th. They've recently posted an article on their blog that has reformed this ruling that they have made at YCS New Jersey. It explains that the judges were correct in making the ruling reference from Verg of Nordic Alfar, but that because due to consistency issues, they will reword these cards, and the card wording is going to be improved on the problem-solving card text, and now it's going to match the effects just like cards like Dodger Dragon. If you don't already know, Dodger Dragon is worded in a way that it wasn't affected by this ruling change made at YCS New Jersey. If you look at the Extreme Victory rulebook that's posted up on the Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards site, it does state that Dodger Dragon doesn't work like Verg, and there has to be a preemptive skill drain on the field for you to be able to negate that Dodger Dragon. Now the TCG will be rewording Verg to work similarly to Dodger Dragon, and Evelswarm, Castor, Constellar, Pollux will work the same way. You can check out the link directly to the Konami blog for this post to officially confirm this and use this as a reference from now on. There's been multiple changes in the past few days going back and forth on these rulings, including Konami of Europe sort of seceding from Konami of the US's decision at YCS New Jersey. So I don't know if this is going to change or not because it's changed so many times and I've actually had to re-record several times for this video in order to get the most updated information because it has been flip-flopping quite a bit. So I would take this with a grain of salt, personally, because of my experience and what has been going on in the past few days regarding this ruling. But for now, this is what's official. So Veiler does not stop these effects anymore like it was ruled at YCS New Jersey. Next up, we're going to talk about cards that activate and where they activate. Right off the top of your head, you can probably immediately name all the places that a card effect can activate. In the banish, the graveyard, the field, your hand. In your banish pile, stuff like Elemental/Ruler Dragon effects activating to search things out. In your graveyard, you have stuff like Sangan or grave searching effects like Giant Rat. On your field, you have stuff like Caius the Shadow Monarch or Tour Guide from the Underworld. And from your hand, you have stuff like Effect Veiler and Max C. As a general rule of thumb, you have to know that card effects will always resolve in the place they activated. So Effect Veiler just because you discard it, or Honest just because you discard it, doesn't mean it resolves in the graveyard. That effect resolves in your hand. Stuff like Lonefire Rescue Rabbit, if Lonefire is tributing itself or Rescue Rabbit's banishing itself, those effects still resolve on the field. Now in my previous video I mentioned a ruling with Spellbook of Power. Spellbook of Power has a continuous effect that applies on a monster that increases its attack by 1,000, but once the monster destroys something by battle, it has an additional trigger. So the part of its effect that lets you search a spellbook activates. So what does this mean? Well, apparently several judges at YCS Lille ruled that Spellbook of Power's search effect actually activates from grave so that Abyss Dweller can negate it. But this ruling is actually wrong. Credits to Lobby 123 for pointing this out. There's actually a final place where effects do activate, and it's not your deck. There's no such thing as a deck activating effect. Stuff like Gladiator Beasts tagging resolve on the field, and stuff like Vylon Sigma activating a spell card from your deck is Vylon Sigma's effect, bringing something from your deck. Back from that digression, the final place that card effects activate is Limbo. Now this is a fan term, there is no real official term for using this, but there are a very few amount of cards that actually effect, activate, and resolve in nowhere. What that means is there's no particular location this effect resolves in. The prime ruling example to draw from this is the card Sun Dragon Inti. If it met its condition, no matter where it ends up, its special summon effect will activate. Because of this, if Sun Dragon ended up in grave and there's a Light Imprisoning Mirror on the field, It doesn't stop the Sun Dragon because its effect is not attached to it. Similarly to Spellbook of Power, its effect to search is not attached to that Spellbook of Power. So if that Spellbook of Power is banished or there's something like Abyss Dweller on the field, that Spellbook of Power will still activate the search when that monster destroys something by battle. So it's important to know that that part of Spellbook of Power's effect is not attached to the card. So stuff like End of Anubis and Abyss Dweller do not stop it. So to summarize, there are ruling differences in the TCG and OCG on Evilswarm, Castor, and Constellar Pollux, and Abyss Dweller does not stop Spellbook of Power. This week's coupon code is going to be Core TCG, and the TCG is a little reminder that apparently our games are completely different, and to remember that sometimes we have ruling differences on the same cards. Yeah, so anyways, we're going to have that as our coupon code, and you can enter that upon checkout, and you can get a 10% return on all Yu-Gi-Oh! Singles you purchase. You can also check out our Facebook page. I'm about to put up a Lord of the Tachyon Galaxy box giveaway, because who doesn't want the Drago Sax and Spellbook of Judgment? My name's Amanda. I hope this video has been helpful. Take care.